today it's fresh content. So we want to make sure that your site is super fresh.
And so clean, clean.
Wait, fresh content. I thought this was about donuts. I saw something in here about Krispy Kreme.
Oh yeah, there are some Krispy Kremes in here.
Okay. All right. All right. Here we go.
All right, so actually Google came out with a patent a while ago in 2011, and it was all about fresh content. It was actually called information retrieval based on historical data. And so there was a lot of clues hidden in that patent that over the years people have been interpreting. SEOs in the community, they've been trying to figure out exactly how to make your content the freshest and most effective on your website. So just so you know that there's no guarantee how Google's algorithm actually applies all of these rules. But we have, hints and clues. So over the years, there's been a lot of testing, and this is kind of a summary of the best ways to get your fresh content on your site. Okay, so there's lots of different kinds of sites. There's, if you have a magazine, if you have a newspaper, if you have a blog, pretty much every website should have a blog if you're trying to sell services or products. So the date that you start all of those pieces of content, you're going to have tons of archives in the past. If you blog weekly, monthly, however often you blog or post new articles and make new pages on your site, you're most likely not going to have new services or new products often, but you will have, regular blogs and posts basically every week. So how do you know? How does Google know how to keep those fresh, and how do we make sure that our site is ranking above our competitors? The first is the inception date. Yeah, but not Leonardo DiCaprio, but it is the inception from Google. So Google recognizes the inception date when it actually crawls the site. So let's say you post on a Friday, but Google doesn't actually crawl your site as often because you don't have a lot of fresh content, so they might not get to it for like a month. Some sites you can they crawl often, so they might just get it right away. But if you really want to guarantee that Google's going to see your article closer to when you publish it, just all you have to do is log into your Webmaster Tools, or it's now called Search Console, and submit your sitemap to Google. All right. So, and the fresher.
Robin, is that a way? Is that what you're really saying? Is that if you can get them to crawl your site and check the new content by doing that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And if you have a lot of fresh content all the time, what happens is they crawl your site more often automatically.
Okay.
All right. So fresh content and the amount of change is the second one you can do to keep your website fresh. That's just regularly updating your content. If you just change a sentence in an old blog, that's not really going to do it. But if you make a big impact and throughout the document, so let's say you made a change in the first paragraph, you added some links, maybe more bullet points, an update, and it's kind of throughout the entire document, then Google will recognize that as a change. And you don't necessarily have to change the dates. You can just put the same date, or if you want to put it at the top of your blog, you can refresh the date to the new one. But just refreshing the date alone is not going to do it either. All right, so working your fresh content core. You can make changes to the body of the content. So this just means that if people make changes or they put comments at the bottom, or if you make changes in the navigation or their footer, it's not even going to matter. What Google's looking for is for changes in the actual body of and content of the article or blog or whatever piece of content it is.
So, Robin, are we talking about, I mean, I know you're talking about blogs, and I wanted to ask you how often that you think people should be doing a new blog, first of all, but so are you talking about, say, on a homepage, actually making changes to some of the content there, or are you talking about adding new and different things, or both?
Refreshing your content is more about your archives. So yes, if you can definitely update and always be adding to your main service pages. For example, adding frequently asked questions to the bottom, maybe adding more pictures, updating videos. So that's something that you should be doing on a regular basis. How often is hard to say. It just depends on your industry and your competitors. But mostly what this is talking about is if you have old archives, old blogs, old articles, tons and tons of content that you just pretty much don't. If you went back a few years, it would be not relevant to your core audience anymore. So we're just looking for anything that is older that can be updated. Whole point is to help your audience and keep them on the page longer. So if it's not relevant anymore, it's an old article and it's not good information, they're going to leave your website.
So if you have a page that has a blog every week, and you're going back to the ones that might be a few months old and doing some updates and some content changing to the old ones just to freshen them up.
Yeah, and I would say even a few months, it's pretty fresh still. Probably after 6 months or a year, it's not going to be as fresh, but it also depends on your industry. If your industry is fashion, it might be out of style next week. But if your industry is, mechanical parts to fix cars, I mean, it might not change for a while.
Okay. Is there ever a time where old, like really old, like say if you're doing one every week and you have some that are a year old, and are we ever wanting to take some of those down and just, clean it up that way, or are we just looking to sort of clean them up, freshen them up, and keep them? Are we just building that library over time?
That's kind of the $1 million question there is that no one knows exactly how Google's algorithm works. So, um, and it also depends on your website and how much content you have. So, one option is it depends on how much content you have. So, if you have a ton, it could be a monetary thing where you just have, it's costing you extra money every month to have all that data on the server and load all the time. Another reason why you would cut down on the content is because maybe you're ranking for too many pages and all that SEO juice that you're in power that you're trying to put on your service pages is just being distributed and diluted across hundreds or maybe thousands of pages. The other reason what you could do is de-index some of your old content. So only have the pages that you really want to rank and the blogs you really want to rank on and your best ones ranking on Google. But you can also just take your old blogs and update them as well. But you can see that if you have thousands of blogs, it could take a lot of manpower to keep updating these. And how often should you update old blogs? I mean, yeah, it could be anytime from they're old a month ago to it could be a couple of years, or even I've seen blogs last online for years and years just because they're a good blog and the subject matter's good and it's a question that a lot of people search. So older blogs could be ranking more than some of the more current blogs. So freshness isn't always about the date as well.
I got a quick comment on that.
Yeah.
Robin, you're rewriting some of the different blogs that we have all the time, and we're looking at what we may have posted a year or two ago, and we're updating those different blogs to have more fresh and current content because the world of SEO is always changing. And that's something where you can put that into your strategy. You could say, you know what, I'm going to write, once you get to a point where maybe you have 100 blogs, maybe what you'll do is start cycling back and refreshing maybe one blog twice. Maybe this week 1 and 2, I'm going to refresh an old blog and bring it back, bring the date up to the top, and refresh the content that's on there and supplement it, maybe remove and change it, and then maybe the last 2 weeks of the month you'll write new content, so you can start working that into the schedule rather than writing one new blog every week. So that's another strategy to use as well. The other thing that I want to comment on is exactly what Robin had just said, was some of these blogs, rather than removing them, if they have a lot of traction, you certainly don't want to get rid of it. I've talked to people that have had blogs. I remember one person in particular that had that was the corner of the county that we live in here, and he had a blog about drunk driving and some of the different implications of that. And it was a blog that he wrote when he was the corner of Lake County, I'd say maybe 7, 8, 9 years ago. And he said that blog still gets tremendous traffic, even though it's almost 10 years old. So sometimes you can have something that really resonates with people. If it's a great piece of content, people will continue to search for it and find it useful. So you don't want to just remove that.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, and speaking about removing, that's something that a lot of people are afraid to do almost. Like they don't want to take anything they ever wrote off of the blog. Well, if it's no longer relevant and you can't really save it, I mean, don't think that there's a problem with deleting old content off of your blog.
And it's right to be afraid, especially from the standpoint of doing it the right way. So a lot of people just delete pages or remove pages from their website, whether those are blog posts or anything else, without doing a proper 301 redirect. So that's that URL that's up in the bar. So yourdomain.com/ whatever's at the end of that. If you change that or you just remove the page completely, then Google will see that you have a link that was there that isn't there anymore. And essentially you're going to do what's called a 301 redirect. So this way, if someone was to visit the link, it redirects them to another place. Kind of like a change of address at the post office. You just got to let them know, hey, it's not here anymore, this is where it is, or it's not here anymore, come back to the home page. So that's really important to do if you're going to have it redirect somewhere else. You're going to change the permalink of the blog article or page, or whatever the situation is, making sure that you're not just deleting a page without handling that. Because if you have Google Webmaster Tools or Google Search Console set up on your site, Google will flag it and tell you in there, hey, you have a 404 not found on your website. People may have linked to this. We have it indexed. You should do something about that to make sure that's not there, because that can help you move down in the search results if you don't handle that appropriately.
Yeah. And here's something that's not in this article is what services are making you the most money? And if that is not the thing that you're blogging about the most, and then you should change that. Or if your service has changed over the years and now you make a lot more on one service versus the other. Make sure your blog reflects that, and let's say you make 50% of your income on or your profit on one service versus your 3 other services, well then 50% of your blog should probably reflect that.
That's what we're working on right now. Most of our new revenue is coming in from the Amazon side of our business, and that's why we're making the second half of all our webinars dealing with Amazon, and we're cutting those all out as videos that we put on specific blogs pertaining to those Amazon topics. So doing that could really help beef up the content and the information about that service that'll help us promote it better online.
All right, you know what? And that'll be a perfect place for me to jump in real quick, because we're talking about Amazon, we're talking about great content. Can we have a look at our website real quick? I want to jump in here for a second, talk about Awesome Dynamic and what we do. So Amazon Seller Consulting is becoming a really large part of what we do here at Awesome Dynamic. We are taking companies anywhere from small startups to bigger companies with thousands and thousands of SKUs and helping them increase their sales dramatically on Amazon. So we are going to be talking about that a little bit later, part of Amazon, and adding some more of that to our webinars as we move forward. Besides our Amazon Seller Consulting end of things, we also are looking to get you new targeted customers. We have customers calling us, new customers, every day, and we want you to be in that same boat. So every day, people from all over the country and even all over the world are calling Awesome Dynamic to talk about our services. We can do that for you as well. We do that with responsive web design. We do that with SEO services to help you get found on Google, as we're talking about today. We also do the Google Virtual Tour, which can be a great tool to have people be able to preview your business, as well as give you a nice SEO boost by having that if your competition does not. So on our website, you'll find our blogs. You will find our awesome list where we can get you signed up so you can keep up to speed on everything that's going on here. We also have some live events that we're promoting that you can see on here as well. And we also have a place, lastly, where you can give us a Google 5-star review, which we would also always appreciate. And we would really be thrilled if you would give us one if you appreciate our content. Last thing I wanted to say real quick is that we have a mechanism on here where you can ask us questions at any time. Paul and Blake, I believe, are monitoring those questions. Guys, anything coming through so far?
So far, nothing yet.
All right, well, don't be bashful, and if you're having trouble for any reason doing it through the link on the website, on that website for the webinar, you can always send something over to Terry at awesomedynamic.com, and we'll get those answered for you. We love to have the people that are watching jump in. Don't be bashful. All right, well, that's all I have on that. So did I miss anything?
I got another thing I'd like to promote, but I'll do that at the segue between the first and second segment.
Fantastic. All right, so Robin, you want to jump back in for us, please?
Sure, a couple things we already went over. Basically, the rate and the frequency of your content change. How often do you change it? And then adding an amount of new pages. So some people say that, like web teams say that you should add 20 to 30% new pages every year, but a lot of people say that's also unnecessary. For Awesome Dynamic, I blog once a week. They say the minimum is like once a month put a new blog on your website, but more often is always better. And uh, doing fresh content and earning new links as well are two things that really boost your website above competitors. So speaking of links, when you have tons of links that are not spam links, so really good links, they could be like from a .gov website or .edu website, those are really good links, or from a website that has a really high page rank, um, and just really natural links that you get from maybe other bloggers, or you just have great content, so people want to link to you. That just signals to Google, it's not just the freshness of your content, it's also how relevant it is to people. So you can't just put out articles about anything. You want to make sure that they're well researched and that you're answering people's real questions.
So, Robin, why are those .gov, .edu links so valuable?
Because they're hard to get. So if they're hard to get and then you get links to them, it means that it's almost like, okay, so this is perfect for this one. You're cool. You're cool. You're cool. I guess I'm cool too. So if you have cool people linking to you, that means you're also cool. I use this analogy of you're sitting at the cool kids table at lunch, that means you're cool too. So if you have bad links, and that means that you're following like bad neighborhoods and bad crowd, that's what they call them in SEO, is like you're linking to bad neighborhoods. So you don't want to link to websites that are ranking lower than you, and you can see your page score, your page rank it. You can just Google that and look at what your score is. It's out of 100. So websites that score less than you, they're going to be a bad idea to link to or get links from. Websites that score higher than you, most .gov and .edus will probably be higher than you, but it doesn't have to be that either. Any industry links or prominent bloggers or just big news sources, I mean anything like that, or even local newspapers and things like that. Anything your competitors don't have. It could be even local chambers websites. So basically, if you have great they have a great status with Google, and then they link to you, that some of that's going to pass on over to you onto your website.
Got it.
All right.
Got to be a cool kid, Terry.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Not one of the bad kids. Not the bad kids. The cool kids that aren't bad.
This is the cool kid table. What are you talking about?
That's right.
We're all sitting at it.
All right, Robin, what's next?
So Google tries to see, okay, what is the intent or what's the hot topic? So you'd have to combine freshness and relevancy. So Google looks at your stats for that. So if someone searches for, I don't know, what's a topic that you're interested in?
I'm interested in property in Florida.
Okay, so if you're looking for some property in Florida, Google's going to see if you have good stats. Like, do you have, when you show up, if your blog article all about the top property or hot areas in Florida, if always shows up and people click on it a lot, that's your click-through rate. So if that's high, which 1% is high, or even higher, and then all the other results, and people spend a lot of time on your website and they click on multiple pages, and then that's going to signal to Google, okay, for this keyword, this topic, this is super relevant, and this is fresh content, people like this site, and then they're going to put you up higher on Google.
You know what I always thought would be good is, Robin, you always look for the food happy hours in the area, but I just thought the drink happy hours, it'd be nice to have one place to go to know who's got which happy hour each day of the week.
Yeah, if there's sites that list those out there, and then they can get a ton of traffic just from that, and then you're already on their site. So
Hey, we,
that's
we got a
definitely one.
question that came in, so I'd like to see what Ira has to say. Ira Hendon, thank you for joining us. Ira says, do you have a recommended content length for articles and blog posts? My content is older, and he says 2 to 3 years. However, our posts have been over 700 words, and it takes time to create good content. Are we better off creating more frequent or shorter content? Robin, you want to take a stab at that first?
Sure. So, in terms of length of content, I mean, 300 words is only about 2 paragraphs. So, you can definitely make short blog articles, but it depends on your audience. So, if they are, if it's a more scientific website and then they're used to reading huge, long articles with no pictures, and if if it's more of a lighter topic, maybe they're used to shorter articles. But if I had to choose between posting more often and shorter content and super high quality content but less frequent, I would say both strategies are actually good. It just depends on uh, what your industry is and um, how many work hours you have, really. So,
And how many employees you can delegate that to. But you know what? The
right.
the other way that I like to look at it is satisficing is a new word that I learned not too long ago from a strategic partner of ours.
Could you say that again, please?
Satisficing. So
Okay.
it's your 80% rule. You know, the perfection hinders progress. So what you can do is look at doing something part way and with the idea that you're going to go back and continue to improve it and make it better. So if you want to have a strategy where you post pretty often but with less quality, maybe not the highest quality content ever, that's one way to go for. And then knowing that in the future you're going to recycle through all those blogs, not recycle, but go back to all those blogs and improve them over time and continue to beef them up and make them better. I think that would be a great way to go. Or you can spend a whole bunch of time making one really kick-ass blog post and put that together and then release it. But that can take a lot more time. There's a lot more anxiety in getting it just right, and that's where that whole progress or perfection hinders progress can really get in your way. So if you look at it more of an ever-evolving type thing and go with more frequent with the idea that you're going to go back and make all of them better over time, I would say that would be a good combination of the two that'll get you some really great results.
And here's just one blog article that I put in the chat. It'll be in the show notes as well on blog ideas. All right. And just to finish up here, we have a couple more. The anchor text may devalue your link juice, basically. So when you link to items, or if you have items linked, other websites linked to you, if they have weird text that doesn't have to do with you, for example, if I had cat food as my website and I have all of these links that have nothing to do, they all have dog food links, that's not going to help me out. So it has to be, it can't deviate from the original page content. You can't make a whole website about one item and then change it to another. So that's a big kind of like black hat SEO technique. And then fresh content versus older content. That's what we touched on earlier is sometimes older content is better because it's more relevant. And Google can actually measure that based on the results and how long people stay on the page. So it really just depends on how, not always the freshest is not always the best. And then that's why you'll see old results too. Sometimes if you Google something, you'll see an article from 2012 or something and it'll rank above a 2016 article. And that's
Well,
why it's going by the stats.
yeah, and a lot of that's just maybe the bounce rate of the page is really low. So people go to the page, they're really engaged in it, and they spend a lot of time on the page, and then they click and go even deeper into the website. And let's say that's competing with a newer article that there's a huge bounce rate on, where people are going to the article and then they leave without further engaging in the website. And that could be one factor that's keeping that newer article from ranking above the older article, because the older one may do a better job at engaging the person and having them move through the website, which means it would have a very low bounce rate.
Nice.
Right.
All right, Robin, can you sort of summarize for us at this point?
Sure, I would say this is probably the most important point of this whole article is that you don't want to just, a lot of companies, especially bigger companies, will just update pages for just the sake of updating pages. If it's not adding anything to your audience, and if it's you're not really improving your stats and giving out fresh links and you're getting more clicks, it's really not doing anything, and over time Google will realize that because of all of these stats. So even though Google can't read your page, the readers that are actually reading your page, Google can take those numbers and realize if you're actually updating to make the article better or if you're updating just to update. So overall, just keep your content very fresh and take out anything that's not relevant to your current audience and just keep adding new content. And Google will recognize that, crawl you, and you'll rank above your competitors.